Jesus freak here. With things the way they have been in recent days, I think the difference between my politics and that of much of my viewership is going to come to a head. Me being more of a social libertarian type, yeah, it gets fuzzy when you use labels. Because they're not always perfectly accurate descriptors. But a lot of ideas similar to the NAR's conceptualization of the current president of the United States as a Cyrus figure or even as the second coming of Christ. Yes, there are people who teach this. There's I believe he's a South African guy named Helgaard Mueller, who had a book, I think it was called Donald Trump, the Son of Man, the Messiah, or something like that. It's like, who takes this stuff seriously? Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." And I almost feel like when you have people talking about wanting to force Jesus to come back on their time schedule instead of letting him come back on his own, rather than showing some kind of faith, isn't that showing a lack of faith? Rather than showing you believe in an almighty God, doesn't it show that you only think of God as a genie in a bottle? Those aren't Christian beliefs. Those are New Apostolic Reformation beliefs. New Apostolic Reformation has a veneer of Christianity, but it is not Christianity. They put too much emphasis on their feelings. You know what Jeremiah said, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? If you're leaning too hard into your fifis, you're not showing that you have faith. You're showing you don't have faith. And when I lean into political stances that a lot of people who are likely to follow Christian channels, Christian YouTubers, are going to see negatively, it's not because I don't believe in the Bible, it's because I do. I feel like, yeah, I know. These kinds of stances are fully in line with the New Testament and what Jesus teaches, what James the Just teaches, what Paul teaches throughout the New Testament. So I know y'all ain't going to agree with me. I can just say, I read the New Testament, I read the Bible, this is what I get out of it. And I know it ain't what you get out of it. First of all, stop conflating modern Israel with old Israel and America with the new Israel, and most of y'all are doing both of these. Not necessarily my viewership in particular. You don't need to read the New Testament a bit more. Not my viewership necessarily. The saying, we ask God to help us read, learn, and inwardly digest. I can't remember the exact wording. It's in here somewhere. One of our prayers is we ask God to help us not just read the Word, not just to understand the Word, but for it to become a completely innate part of our identity. I think a lot of people out there who profess Christianity is still thinking with their lizard brains. And that's why they look for strongmen. They look for a Saul, not for a David. They look for Barabbas and throw Jesus out the window. I know my politics are going to be divisive around here. Especially since I have engaged in the past, left-wing protests. It's just part of who I am, just part of where my stance is. Do I agree with them on all things? No. Absolutely not. But I'm in a position where I feel like I know. Less likely to succumb to the lizard brain and be a nasty tribalist brute like a lot of these people who are this close to literally worshiping Donald Trump. I don't think any of my viewership is that far gone. Y'all are going to need to understand. I'm fully aware that we're not always on the same side. I would like to hope that where it matters, we are. And this is where it matters. Jesus freak out.